All right, we're back after a moment of technical difficulty and my iPhone running out of storage. And we had Abby was going through her seasonals, and we left off with the December through winter, the Big Belly Warmer.
Yeah, Tidings Ale. And then after Tidings is Metro Red IPA. They like to release that during hockey season. Caps rock the red. And as we head into spring and summer, our beer styles get lighter, more floral. So we have Star Sailor White IPA. It's pretty much a Belgian wit beer IPA. And then we have Helles, which is classic German light lager, very crisp, easy to drink. And then we head back into Oktoberfest. It's all very quick. Definitely breaking the year down by seasonals makes it go very fast because you're always looking at whatever comes next.
Awesome. Okay, that was a great overview of your flagship beers. What is a flagship? What is a seasonal? And you even kind of went on to talk about like building a relationship with your buyers. So walk us through what is a day in the life for Abby and what's like a week in the life? Like how do you set up your week? What do you do?
So a lot of beer sales is looking forward as what's coming. I usually plan my week on Friday. So overall, I figure out where I'm going to be within my territory up to 90 days in advance. I will break down what percentage of sales is in which county and allocate my time there as such. And then each Friday I will look at where I planned to be that week and add in my accounts, make a list of what bars, restaurants, and grocery stores in that area I want to reach so I can manage my time well. Also, a lot of the buyers aren't going to be around every single day, so you kind of have to have that knowledge and have those background notes on like what the best day is to catch them, what the best time is to catch them. It's definitely you're spinning plates here on like balancing your time and using your time wisely, and also respecting the buyers, the manager's time. So it's definitely tricky, but once I have my week planned out, Monday is pretty easy. I wake up and I hit the market immediately. A lot of people are available on Monday. It's the first day, obviously, after a weekend. Usually weekends are when the drinking really happens. So they'll generally need to reorder beer. So a lot of managers are around. So I'll generally visit anywhere between 8 and 15 places a day. That doesn't necessarily take the full 8 hours. Obviously, there's a lot of travel time involved. There's a lot of follow-up emails. I will often be sitting in my car on my phone, sending emails, sending follow-up emails as soon as I leave a place. But yeah, I will take notes on each visit, do that for 4 days. On Friday, I kind of use that as my admin day to follow up on emails, follow up on any visits that I need to. Some places I can only talk to the buyer on Friday, so I will go and visit them. And I often do events on Friday, since that's a very good day for them to get some crowds in and plan my next week.
No, it's great, and I kind of want to talk through. Do you know what your overall production is? Like what your annual volume is?
So in 2019, we were brewing around 16,000 barrels a year. Obviously, with the pandemic, that changed. I don't honestly know what the numbers are like the past 2 years.
So you'll say so for Abby, and how many people are like you on the Port City sales team?
So our sales team, we have me in Northern Virginia. We have 2 Southern Virginia, so somebody is like It's pretty much west of Richmond and then east of Richmond, dividing Virginia up that way. And then we have a DC and Maryland manager. And then above me we have somebody who oversees Virginia and DC, and then we have our sales director who oversees all of the 9 states.
So 4 reps and then a leader.
Yep.
So I wanted to go back to a comment Abby made, and it was like cold calls. So I wanted to explain the difference in that for those that don't understand. A cold call is when you don't have an appointment, or the person you're trying to sell to doesn't know about your product yet, and it's truly cold. You're going in, educating a customer to that. You have Port City, which is such a powerhouse in the DMV that has an amazing sales team that can, being that Abby's special discipline is only in selling, at Settle Down Easy, I have to be an owner, I have to do events, I have to do sales. So I wanted to talk to the class briefly about a cold call and a warm call. So a cold call is when Abby was saying how she just goes out in the market, goes and educates these bars, restaurants, venues to Port City beer. Because it's 8 to 15 accounts per day, which is Herculean for making that many calls. That's a very, very impressive for the course of the week. For me, my time is so valuable at the brewery, behind the bar, brewing beer, packaging, events. I do what's called warm calls. So every week I do about 3 to 5, and I go to my distribution company and I ask who are big buyers of Ferment Nation. That's our distribution company. You guys
Hop
use
and Wine.
Hop and Wine. So it's a 3-tier system in the state of Virginia. You have manufacturing, distribution, and then in-store retail. So a brewery can't just take the beer to a restaurant. You have to go through an intermediary, which is all about tax and a lot of people in making money. Abby and I love our distribution companies, I'm sure. But a warm call is when my distribution rep says, we just got in at this venue. They're looking to expand their portfolio. So that beer buyer is expecting us or wanting to hear from us. They're excited. The cold call can be like when Abby's like, I walk into a business and the beer buyer is busy, and it can be kind of not a warm and friendly. Sometimes they're like, I don't have time, I'm busy, and you kind of go like, nope, it's cool.
Oh, yeah.
When's a good time to come in? And
I just give them the good old finger guns and I say, hey, I left this beer for you. Enjoy your afternoon. After you're done, please take this.
Drink it.
That's how you build a good
That's
relationship.
building the rapport too, right?
Yeah.
When I want to just do a follow-up question, I'm going to be sensitive of time, but you're targeting a new account. Like there's a big beer buyer, and it's a new account you want to get into, massive volume. You want to get a permanent line. How long do you think it takes? Like how many calls, how many follow-ups, how many engagements, how many drop-offs of packaging does it take to win a customer over?
Well, again, that can really depend. But I mean, having to go through a distributor is a pain in the butt, but the distributor reps are such a resource. Mm-hmm. And building a relationship with them is just as important, if not a little bit more important, than having a good relationship with the buyers themselves. If you have a good relationship with your distributor rep and they have your back, and let's say, so your distributor rep sells other beer from other breweries than you, which, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the game. If there is a big account and that rep sells beer there, even if it's not your own, they already have that relationship with that buyer trusts them. So if you have a good relationship with the distributor, you can say, hey, like I've been working really hard, or like this is my target. I'm really trying to get optimal wit in here. Do you have any angles? Like, do you have an approach? Like, tell me more about this buyer, give me the inside scoop. And since that sale will benefit that distributor,
sure,
especially if you're trying to not take off a draft line that distributor already sells in. So I would go after Ferment Nation lines.
Thanks,
instead of other Hop and Wine lines. That would benefit that distributor rep. So they're like, yes, like so happy you're putting in this work. Like this is the approach. A lot of it is just, reading the room, finding different ways to approach the buyer. I would say probably a month. I mean, depending on the availability of the buyer. Sometimes you get a place that, especially like the really big places, the manager might be around 2 hours out of the week. And in those 2 hours, they are not going to want to talk to you. So it's mostly email. Maybe they'll respond. Maybe they won't. But they will every week, if not twice a week, be talking to the distributor.
I know when I first met Abby, we met at Fireworks Pizza in Arlington, and it's one thing about the competition amongst breweries, but also the camaraderie amongst breweries.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a friendship circle. I met her when she just got back here, had the job, and I was really taken back by how quick she was, how sharp she was, how knowledgeable she was, and I invited her to the brewery to have a meeting just to understand some of the stuff she just talked about, because it helped me understand like how to approach things. And because of her conversation of, you need to work your distribution like you work your customers, that taught me how to engage them. And it took me 4 months until I figured out the flow and the logistics and the operations of the warehouse to the reps in the field. And it is now I'm finding momentum where I can work with my distribution guys and have this proactive conversation. One, like I wanted to go back and talk about how long it takes. There is a hotel in Tysons that when we opened, the general manager came in unexpectedly, loved our beer, asked us to do a tap takeover. We did 2 lines, went up there and repped it, and we worked forever to try to get a line. It's a big beer buyer. And another brewery who's synonymous with their Kolsch missed a delivery, and they couldn't make a delivery. Yep. That beer buyer called our rep from Ferment Nation and said, I need a Kolsch. I know you guys have settled on easy. I want their Kolsch. So we were able to, it took, we opened in 18, so that was like spring of 19, we did the tap takeover. So it took until the spring of 19 until the late summer of 2021 to get a line, and now it's a permanent Kolsch line. So it took a long time. Yeah,
oftentimes you really just have to wait till the stars align.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been in your role, you got back early this year, right? 2021? When did you come back to get in this position?
So I was hired on 2 weeks before the pandemic hit.
Oh.
I was laid off a little bit for a couple months. I was working in the tap room. They brought me into the tap room to do curbside pickup. They were on top of communicating. They did an excellent job throughout the entire thing, through months of uncertainty. I started back in sales July of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2020, you've been in this role, you've gotten through the pandemic in sales. Mm-hmm. Now we're coming out of it. I'm certainly see some excitement, like some beer starting to move again, which is great. But in your current role, where do you see yourself as the Northern Virginia territory rep, territory manager? Where does this position take you? Where do you aspire to be?
So that's a funny question. The nice thing about sales in this industry is the different positions at different breweries can look completely different. So if I were to go to a brewery that is distributed nationally, I could be covering 5 states. If I loved travel, if I wanted to, if I got bored in my area or whatever, I could definitely choose my own adventure, take one of those jobs. Or I could find a brewery that's pretty much a startup and see if I could, tackle building them, building their market. So at this point, I'm not really sure. At Port City's such an impressive institution. I am learning so much every single day. So right now, I'm just taking it all in. I am a sponge. I love where I am right now. Port City definitely takes care of its employees, and I wouldn't be surprised if there is upward mobility opportunities. But right now, I'm not really sure what that looks like. And I'm not really someone who wants to travel over 5 states. I really like my territory. The farthest reaches of my territory is within an hour and a half driving, so it's like a day trip, and I love that. I love being able to go home at the end of the day. So yeah, we'll see. I'll probably have a different answer in a couple years, but the nice thing about a fast-moving industry is that there are options, there are opportunities wherever.
Awesome. Well, I promised to keep the interview to about 30 minutes, and we're really coming up on that time. And there were a couple other questions, so I'm probably just going to ask Abby afterwards, just to be mindful of the class's time. But there was a student who did reach out with a question that was, how do you set pricing on beer? And can you walk through how that gets done, as well as if you have somebody who's buying a tremendous amount of package or a tremendous amount of product, how do you price?
Yeah. So pricing is generally out of my control. If I walk into like a small bottle shop and we're like way overpriced, I'll probably ask them why. Because obviously if your stuff is unreasonably expensive, especially to like...
So break that down. It's like unreasonably priced. So
yeah.
Talk about Optimal Wit.
Yeah.
It's sold in 6-packs, right?
Yeah.
Or
6-pack bottles.
Right?
Yeah. So since we are working within the 3-tier system, we sell to the distributor, and then the distributor sells to an account. If that account is set, so let's say we sell a 6-pack of Optimal Wit for $10 to the distributor. If I go into a bottle shop and I see a 6-pack of Optimal Wit selling for $20, I'm going to have some questions. Usually it'll be priced at, say like 15. Definitely, like, they're working the margins. They obviously want to profit off of that, and there's obviously a lot of, rent and, whatever that overhead that is factored into prices that you find in retail. But as far as pricing to the distributor, I'm not really a part of that decision.
So that's like your director who's kind of setting that.
That's like the director of sales working with the brewers to figure out margins from like how much the beer costs to brew.
But let's say you do have an account, like a massive beer buyer. Let's call it like Quantum. There's a big restaurant called Quantum, and they have like 60 tap lines, and it is known for their beer production.
Yeah.
And you want to get one flagships in or seasonal rotations in. Are there things you do to leverage your product or discount pricing to get in?
Yeah. So that would be called a quantity discount or a QD. So let's say I have a half barrel of Optimal Wit, and I talk to a buyer and I'm like, hey, you should bring in Optimal Wit. And they're like, well, we go through a lot of beer. And I'm like, great, how much? And they're like, we go through 3 kegs. We go through 3 half barrels of beer a week. I'll be like, perfect. If you buy more Optimal, for example, if you buy 3 half barrels of Optimal Wit, you can get a discount. You can get a certain dollar amount off of each of those kegs. So let's say a half barrel of Optimal Wit is $200. It's not, but
for the purpose of the
for the purpose, it's $200.
I was like, really? I'm so underpriced.
No. Optimal Wit is $200. If you get 3 half barrels of Optimal Wit, we will bring each price per half barrel down to $190. So for a big place like that, that really, really adds up, and that's like a really good selling point, especially if you're introducing them to your brand.
Awesome. Abby, I can't thank you enough for your time. It really means a lot. You took your time out of your day to drive to the brewery to have this meeting with me. I hope to stay in touch with you because I think you're a tremendous asset to our industry and you're really awesome at what you do.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks
awesome.
for inviting me.
All right, guys. We'll see you and discuss this conversation at class. See ya.